Well, good morning all explorers. I'm sorry I haven't been here for a few days, but I've not been very well and I've been laid up in bed with a very bad leg. But I'm back on my feet now and ready to read some of our stories. So last time I saw you, Roman was on the school bus and was being very bad indeed. He was eating on the bus. So let's see where he is now. So he was talking about his donuts. And it was a donut that would ruin my life. He said it was a deadly donut. Almost immediately, Rosie Taylor, aka Nosy Rosie, thrust her hands up in the air. She said, "I'm getting you done." Rosie Taylor sits next to me in class. I don't want to be horrible, but she's got big googly frog eyes and a small mean mouth like a slug's bum. Well, okay, that was pretty horrible. Both of these features are very handy for her hobbies though, which are spying on people and getting them into trouble. I'm not quite sure why a slug's bum gets people into trouble, but we'll find out. The other thing about Rosie is that she absolutely hates me. Always has done. I've never really understood why. I'm pretty quiet and I don't like to bother other people. "Shh," I said. "Please, I'm really hungry." "Roman," said Mrs. McDonald sharply, her big round cheeks starting to turn red, which is a sign she's getting cross. "That's twice. Sit next to me on the bus." Oh no, this was terrible. But perhaps not as bad as sitting next to Kevin, the volcano Harrison. If you remember now, Kevin gets sick when he goes on a bus, and that's why he's called the volcano. Every cloud has a silver lining. Rosie Taylor gave me a smarmy look, then pulled out a little pocket mirror and began fiddling with her hair, another of her annoying habits. She seemed delighted that I was in trouble, even if it wasn't just about the donut. "Mrs. McDonald! Mrs. McDonald!" yelled Darren Gamble, leaping up and down and waving his arms around. "Can I sit next to you too?" I've mentioned Darren before a few times. He's this strange, twitchy kid in my class with a funny little shaved head that makes him look like a baked bean. Baked bean, wow. He only came to our school 3 weeks ago. Sorry, I could just see a kid with a baked bean head now. Do you think it's bright orange as well? Anyway, he only came to the school 3 weeks ago. According to him, he got expelled from St. Joseph's for accidentally setting the fire alarm off when he set fire to a nun. Seriously, I'm not really laughing. Seriously, a nun. I don't know if that's true, but he's always doing weird stuff, like climbing on the school roof or eating worms. On his first day here, he brought a dead magpie with him in his rucksack. Another time he had to go to hospital after sucking out the ink from an entire box of felt tips. But it looked like a rainbow. Very apt at the moment. Most of my class find him funny, but he gives me the collywobbles, so I try to avoid him. I don't like people who are unpredictable. If my life's like a jam donut, this is like an explosion in a bakery. Miss Clegg, Gamble's teaching assistant, looked up from the text message she was pretending not to send under the table. Yes, good idea," she said, rubbing her eyes. She always sounded like she was yawning. I don't think Miss Clegg likes working with Gamble too much. I once heard her talking to another teaching assistant, and she calls Gamble that snot-nosed little turd. Oh, didn't really just say that, turd. Anyway, which wasn't very nice. Another time, she broke wind in maths and then blamed it on him. This wound him up so much. He drank a whole bottle of Tipex. Well, that's not a good idea, is it? Okay, well, we won't go any further with the idea of the drinking of Ted-Back. I have to say, I do feel a bit sorry for her until Gamble came along. Miss Clegg seemed to just float about the classroom doing photocopying and stuff. Now she's got to spend all her time with him in case he tries to destroy the place. It must be one of the worst jobs ever, like washing a sumo wrestler's nappy or tasting cat food for a living. What a weird combination of ideas. Mrs. McDonald, I've got good music on my iPod, said Gamble. We can share earphones, miss. All my favourite bands are on there. Hedgehog Bloodbath, the Kitten Slicers, Cheese Graters for Your Eyeballs. I've even got the new album by Sweaty Steve and the Exploding Grandmas. It's totally banging, miss. You'll love it. Darren, I think I've told you before, I don't really like heavy metal, said Mrs. McDonald. You'll be with Miss Clegg. Miss Clegg went back to texting. Great. Stuck with him all day, I heard her mutter. Oh, Gamble moaned. Can't I sit on your lap, Mrs. McDonald? You're my most favouriteest teacher ever. Well, I'm not sure why, but for some reason, Gamble loves Mrs. McDonald. On his first day, he latched onto her like a verruca, and he hasn't been able to get rid of him since. Sorry, she hasn't been able to get rid of him since. Did you take your tablets this morning, Darren? Mrs. McDonald asked. Everybody giggled. No, said Gamble, bouncing up and down in his chair. I gave them to the dog. Can be a very sleepy dog now, but a very bouncy Gamble. Mrs. McDonald closed her eyes and pinched the bridge of her nose in despair. Oh dear, that doesn't sound too good for me. Gamble held up his hand to stop her. Don't worry, miss. It's for his own good. This week he's been a little bit bitey. Bitey, she asked. Sorry. I'm not sure if we're still talking about Gamble or the dog. Sorry. I'm just trying to catch my breath. Oh dear. Yes, said Gamble. He always gets... Oh dear. Brian, this is for you. He always gets like that when he's gone. When he's gone. I can't even say it. Okay. He always gets like that when he's gone. Worms up his bum. Most of the class laughed. Mrs. McDonald oh dear, slapped her hand to her forehead. Oh, Kevin, the volcano Harrison, he just took deep breaths because he thought he was going to be sick. Gamble grinned. My uncle's the same when he gets worms up. Thank you, Darren, interrupted Mrs. McDonald. You and Miss Clegg had better sit behind me. Oh, this is going to be fun. And that is the end of our story for today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll read you some more tomorrow. Bye.